Sure. We'll put Dennis. Oh, Dennis, you want to go there?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Right here.
No, here you go.
Absolutely. She's sitting with me.
Oh, all right then.
Wally can sit up there.
I'll go where I'm directed.
Yes, ma'am, you are.
Sounds like it.
Wake up. Hello and welcome to the latest Fandom Q&A. And boy, this is a big one. I'd like to welcome all the new people here, people who haven't been before. And if this is your first time, just put your hand up.
Wow. Wow. Thank you guys. Thank you for being here.
And also we've got some very special people from Gainesville, I believe.
Oh yes, if I may for a moment, I'd like to say hi to some of my friends that came all the way from Gainesville, across the Red River, and they came by boat. But they're here. I just want to acknowledge them, if I may, please. My dear friends, Boogie and Wally Cullum, Dick and Patty Haynes, Steve and Brenda Kitchen, Dave and Nancy Moore, David and Karen Sampson, Karen Grant Simpson, and Joe and Patty Wallace. Thank you guys for coming up to be with me. These are very close friends of mine that I spend lots of time with, and they've been kind enough to come up. And I'd also like to mention that there's one other person that came with them, and she came in a bus instead of a car, because I know sooner or later she's going to throw me under that bus. My one and only love of my life, the barn goddess, my wife Jennifer. Thank you.
A little bit of housekeeping before we kick things off. We're not on the stage and it's level, so just if...
Tony, please speak into the mic. People back there can't hear you when you talk.
Is that
what did I tell you all? See? Starts already.
I know. I get this. Morning, noon, and noon. Right. Anyway, so if you're wearing a hat, can you just sort of, keep it on. Doesn't matter. I don't care. But maybe if somebody behind you can't see. The other thing is these. Now, if you've got a mobile phone, please turn it down. You know, it's my pet hate when you're in a room like this and Bob will be telling his story and somebody's phone goes off. You know, it's just not nice. It's rude, isn't it? And it's quite dumb, really. If I'm
Dumb Tony.
So, if you have a mobile phone, Hello? Hello? Yeah, okay, it's for you.
Hello? Yeah, he's here. Dennis, it's for you.
Hey, I thought I told those fans to turn their phones off.
Anyway, right, if you're doing any filming, that's fine, but I don't really want to see it ending up on eBay, so for your own use, please, that would be very nice. I do want to say a massive shout out and thank you to the volunteers. The Fandom volunteers have given up so much of the time this last couple of days, and we're doing so tomorrow.
Can I jump in?
Yeah, I want to jump in about
Well, you're talking about the volunteers, my God, what you guys have done for us, for every one of these festivals, the volunteers have worked overtime, have been so great. I really appreciate what you guys do. I really do. And to end it, I want to say thank you for my Christmas card. 350 names on a Christmas card. You guys are the best. Thank you.
Can I just ask the volunteers just to stand up and give us a wave so people, we just want to see those people who work together.
Thank you, guys.
Also, a massive thank you to Leslie Fisher and the team who put this festival together. They've done a great job, and I think at times, from what I've seen, under very difficult circumstances, so thanks to them. You know, we talk about the Fandom family, and I want to welcome back somebody who hasn't been around for a little while, and that's our very own Jan Petticoat. Jan, I'm not going to go into any of this, but you know, life has been a little bit rough for the last couple of years, and she hasn't been able to be with us for the last 2 years, and now she's back here with us at this festival. Is Jan here?
And working very hard. Thank you, Jan. Thank you for everything.
Well, Jan, I know it's been 2 years, and was the prison food okay?
Well, it was released last week along with Dee, Diana, Sally, Linda, James, Laura, and others too numerous to mention.
Good to see you, Jan. Also, 28 years married, Paul and Kathy Bishop. So,
Wow, congratulations.
congratulations, guys. But that's pretty much it. I must tell you, there may be a train whistle goes off. Apparently, I have to do this. If the train whistle goes off, just jump up and sing Casey Jones. Also, thank you to Laura on the roving mic. She's the one who's going to be coming around and giving you a microphone so you can ask your questions. So that's me done. You?
Yeah, I'll jump in for a second and say this is probably right now the largest Fandom Q&A that we have ever done. I'm going to go back 17, 18, 20 years for the first time that I ever did anything like this, and there were 4 people in the Festival of the West, and maybe some of you might have been there.
No, they're probably in the wrong room.
But anyway, it is great, and you know, I always say to everybody, I say, here's your chance to ask the questions, and this is a private room. We're here. We could be here for 5 hours if you wanted to be, but you've got to ask the questions. It's a Q&A. Everybody got it? Yes. All right.
Can you stand up, because I don't think I'll see you.
Stand up.
There's the bus.
You want us to sit on the table? Sit on the table. You want to sit on the table?
Sit on the table?
Stand on it. Dance. We'll dance. Should we sit on the table?
Are you serious, you guys?
You sit on the table like this. Right?
Come on.
You can.
Okay.
I'm sorry, folks, but this is life at the ranch. If this table breaks, that's your fault.
Well, there's 2 of me. Right, let's start with some questions. Who has questions? Let's see if anybody.
See, now one hand's
No,
coming
one
up. Oh, finally.
Okay. Okay. I want to know who your favorite female co-star, you know, on Laramie that you acted with.
On Laramie. Who said that? Well, you know what? They were all my favorites. I had some great guest stars to work with on it. I really couldn't pick one out. It wouldn't be fair. They were all great actresses and a lot of fun to work with. Absolutely.
Thank you.
No. We've got the lady over here in the blue jacket.
I want to know
on the scenes that you have when you go into the bars and have a drink, is there really liquor in the bottle? Or is there tea or what's in the bottle actually?
You really want that answer? Well, I'll tell you, and it's a great question. It really is, because a lot of people don't realize this. If you watch all the movies, the westerns or whatever, when anybody takes a drink of whiskey, obviously it's not going to be whiskey in a scene. It's a Coca-Cola watered down or whatever to look like whiskey. But there is one drink that cannot be faked, and it's beer. So if you see anybody in a motion picture drink beer, it's real beer, because you can't fake the foam. And a lot of people don't know that. It's a great story. Yeah, really, that's true. In my case, anyway, I might have slipped something in there once or twice in a scene. I don't know. Yeah. But seriously, that's a great question, honey, and a good deal for it. Yeah,
You always
that's
made a
true.
good face after you took a drink because you was always.
You know what? I got paid for doing that. That's what actors do. I could drink a glass of this water right here and do the same thing, see? But might not be water. I don't know.
Okay, you talked about over here, honey.
Where's the The bus.
I know that most of the room has heard this story, but you do have new fans, and would you tell them the Rhonda Fleming story?
Everybody in this room has heard the Rhonda Fleming story, right? Say?
Yeah, if you haven't heard that story, raise your hand.
I'm gonna kill her. All right, everybody here knows who Rhonda Fleming is. Of course, the most gorgeous red-headed actress in the business that I worked with on Wagon Train. I'm going to make this a quick one. They came to me one day and said, guess who your guest star is going to be? What is she doing?
No, you're all right. You might
Trade.
know it.
Trade.
Trade your minds.
Is that gone off?
Yeah.
Oh, you might switch
It's
to
intermittent.
No, I don't want that mic.
This one's not working. Of course it's working.
Of course it's working.
There you go. What are you talking about?
Anyway, they came to me and they said, your guest star this week is going to be Rhonda Fleming, which, of course, drove me nuts. I thought, my God, I'm going to work with the idol of my life, this gorgeous, gorgeous woman. And then I read the script and I find that I'm going to have a scene with her, I get to kiss her and be with her, and I think, this is unbelievable for me. But anyway, so it's the last scene of the day. I have a scene with Rhonda, and we're in a little room where she's trying to convince me to do something to save her daughter who's going to jail or whatever, and she plays a dance hall girl, so she has a very, very low dégagé thing down, you know. And if everybody knows, Rhonda has beautiful eyes. So anyway, we do the scene, and it's a very short scene, shot over the shoulder in the thing, 5 lines. And the next day, the producers came down on the set and said, Bob, we'd like you to, at lunchtime, come up and see the dailies. The dailies are what were shot the day before, and they never do that to actors. And I thought, I don't know why they do this. But anyway, at lunchtime, I got off and I went up with the 2 producers and sat in the projection room big like this, just 3 people, sitting there, and they ran the thing. And about 2 minutes into it, I realized why they brought me up there. Because I never looked that woman in the eyes. I mean, it was so obvious you could, I mean, this was it. The whole scene. So, I mean, you can't do that. I mean, it was really bad. So I said, oh my God, what are we going to do? And they said, well, we have to shoot it over. And I said, well, what are you going to tell Rhonda that we have to shoot this scene over? And they said, we're going to tell her exactly why. And I said to both Red Christie and the producer, I said, you can't do that. You can't do that to me. You can't go down and tell Rhonda that I did that. She says, we're doing it. We're leaving now. And they left the projection room, and they walked down the street, going back to the studio where we were shooting. And I hung back for about 10 minutes, you know, wondering, oh my God, this is going to be terrible. As I walked back onto the stage, they were leaving, and I have to tell you earlier, I was like a puppy dog to her. Can I get your coffee? Can I do this? Can I, you know, whatever, you know, I was so thrilled. Now I wanted to stay as far away from her as I possibly could when I got on the set. So I was hiding over here, and I wasn't involved in this, and then finally we made eye contact, and she went, and I thought, here it comes. And I walked over to Rhonda, and as I got to her, I said, Rhonda, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that, you know, and she said, Bob, don't be sorry. I would love to do that scene again with you. It was a lot of fun. And she got up and gave me a hug and a kiss. That's the Rhonda Fleming. That's Rhonda Fleming. She was a classy lady.
Anybody with questions? Oh, we have got, yep.
Thank you. I'm a former teacher, and so I'm going to give you multiple choice questions about dancing. Would your style be more like A?
I'm sorry, with what?
Would your dancing style be more like Fred Astaire, A, Fred Astaire, B, Gene Kelly, C, Jimmy Cagney, or D, Patrick Swayze?
My what?
Dancing style.
My dancing? All I can do is the Okie Stomp. That was not a dance. Are you kidding? You're talking about dancers. No, I was just a lucky guy in the background going.
Next.
Thank you, honey. Nice question, though, but really, no. Dancing is one of the most incredible venues in the world to be able to do, and these guys were fantastic. They spent their life doing it. No, I just lucked out because my mom and dad could teach me to do the time step and jump up and down. So I got lucky.
What was your favorite line between you and John Smith in the Beverly Garland
Right, the lady there.
show?
I didn't hear.
What was your favourite line between you and John Smith?
My favorite line?
Yeah, John Smith, Beverly Garland.
You mean in the script?
Yeah.
In the Beverly Garland show.
God, if I had the script here, I might tell you. I don't know what a favorite line was. No, it's a tough question. Now, yeah, really. How can I answer that?
Well, you said, if anyone shoots me, I want you to carry me home.
If anyone shoots me or plugs me, I want you to be there to carry me home. So he left because you didn't want to stay.
I don't know.
I'm not gonna.
No. Can you speak up? I couldn't get that.
It was very touching.
It was very touching. If anyone shoots me, I want you to be there to carry me home. Was the line.
Oh, was that in the show?
Yeah.
Well, you know what? That was
Well done.
That was line 7,942,000 in the script. I don't remember that line, but anyway. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Hands?
Is there a chance we could hear the mattress story today? Huh? Could we?
The what story?
Mattress story.
Mattress
The
story.
mattress in the pool?
Oh, no.
I've never heard that story.
You haven't? Nobody heard Kanab and John Smith and myself? Yeah, I'll tell it quickly. It's really a dumb Bob story. 1960, I was dating Keely Smith, if you all remember Louis Prima and Keely Smith. And she was appearing at the Sands Hotel in Las Vegas. And we were doing a Laramie up in Kanab, Utah. And she was having an opening night. And she said, what's the chance of you guys coming to opening night? And I went to the producer, John Champion, and my great director, Les Sealander, who you all know, who directed Tom Mix, directed silent movies, this old guy. And I went to him, and Smitty and I did, said, we have a friend, Chuck Courtney's got an airplane. He'll fly us down to Vegas for the night, for the show, and then we'll promise we'll be back tomorrow morning at 7:30 to shoot. And he said, if you promise me that, you guys can go. So we got him, the guys flew in about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, picked us up, flew us down to Las Vegas, John Smith and myself, and went to the hotel and got there just in time for the opening of the show. We got front seats right there on the stage. Keely dedicated the whole show to me because we were dating, as I said. And so now it's only about 10 o'clock at night, so there's a lot of things to do in Las Vegas at 10 o'clock at night. And Smitty found that out, and he went and did a few things, and then Keely and I went around. We went over to some other shows and saw Frank and Dean and whatever. And then about 12 o'clock, I thought, well, we're supposed to meet to get this guy to fly us back. And all of a sudden he comes to me and he says, my plane is broken down. We can't fly back. And I said, well, what are we going to do? And he said, well, I know a pilot. I can wake him up. He's got a 150 Cessna. It's a 3-seater. And he'll fly you back. And he said, but he's been drinking a little bit. And I said, I don't care, so have we. So anyway, so he picks us up about 3 o'clock in the morning. And we now fly back to Kanab, Utah. And as we take off, I had a couple of flying lessons, but I couldn't land. I could take off. And my lessons were only 2 lessons, and I failed everything. But I could take off. And as we're in the plane right there, and I'm sitting in the front seat with a bottle of gin, Smitty's in the back seat with a bucket of ice, and we got the pilot. And I said, I've had flying lessons. And he said, take it off. I said, okay. 4 o'clock in the morning now. I take off. Well, I could take off like you can't believe. That's great. We're flying. And he puts the radar thing on to head for Kanab, Utah. And we're going. Now we know we're messed up because we're going to be very late on the set. And they're out on location. So we're flying into the sun, and it's coming up, it's beautiful, I'm flying away, and this guy's asleep, the pilot's asleep, and I'm flying the plane. I can't fly. But he said, stay on this course right here, so I fly, and now we get back to Kanab, Utah, and he wakes up and he says, okay, we're gonna land here, so we land at the airport right there. Now it's 9 o'clock in the morning. We've really messed up badly. And the assistant director is out there saying the whole company is on location, way out here, and you're in trouble, So I say to the assistant director, who was Abby Singer, who was Jennifer's assistant, I guess on what, a Jag or St. Elsewhere. So anyway, we tried to get him in the plane with us. He said, no, I'm not getting that plane with you guys. So the pilot says, we'll fly you over where the company is. So we take off again. I take off. And we're flying, we go out, we know where the company is, and I buzz the company. I swear to God, there's pictures of the whole company on the ground. Like this. I could have killed everybody and myself and John. It's dumb bother, it really is. But anyway, we do it, and then we go out and we land on a dirt road. And the pilot says, okay, now this is an F-1, a small plane, single engine. So we get out, we turn the guy around so he can take off on this dirt road and go back to Vegas or whatever. And the only thing left out there now is a big horse trailer where all the horses, 15 horses, this as big as this room right here. And the company is about a mile away. So Smitty and I say, well, we got to get back to the company. And I said, can you drive? And he said, I can drive, can you shift? And I said, dadgum right, let's go. We get in this horse trailer. We've never ever driven it. This is a semi, I mean a huge semi. And we take off. He's driving, I'm shifting. And if you can understand, our gears going crazy like this, and we drive all the way up to the set. Still got the bottle of gin, he's got the bucket of ice, and we've been drinking it pretty good. And we get back to the company and they're all there. Well, we park the thing, get out, Les Sealander is standing there, the whole crew is right there. We get out, stand up, I've got the gin, he's got the ice, and Les Sander takes one look and says, it's a wrap. And it was for the day. About 2 minutes later, John and I are out in the back of our pickup truck, out like a light, and they take us back to the hotel. Dumbbot. Anyway, that's the story. But you know, I have to preface by saying that John Champion finally said, he said, you know what? You guys messed me up a little bit. He said, but you guys have never missed a line. You've always been on time. This is probably the third season of Laramie. He said, you're okay to mess up every now and then like that. And I thought it was great. We were lucky.
Hi, I was just wondering what it was like to work with Dan Duryea. I know he was in at least 3 Laramie episodes.
Dan Duryea.
Huh?
Dan
Is
Duryea.
that better?
That's better.
Oh, yes.
Okay. I was just wondering what it was like to work with Dan Duryea. I can think of him being in 3 Laramie and The Incident at Phantom Hill, one of my favorite actors.
Well, I'm glad he's one of your favorites. It was certainly mine. I've watched Dan Duryea since I was probably 10 years old. I mean, this is a major motion picture star. He's done 50 movies or whatever. And the very first show of Laramie, he was the guest star on it. And of course, I'd never met Dan Duryea before. And I happened to be in wardrobe that day on the lot, Universal. And Dan was in there getting his wardrobe, and I was getting some of mine. And the wardrobe man came up and said, Bob, have you met Mr. Duryea? And there's Dan Duryea standing there. And I said, no. He says, Bob, it's Dan Duryea. And Dan says, hey, Robert, how you doing? Good to see you. We're going to be working together. And I said, yes, sir. You know, what a pleasure, Mr. Duryea, to have you, to be able to work with you. And he said, have you had lunch? And I said, no. He said, why don't you join me for lunch in the green room at Universal Studios? I'd never been in the green room. That's where all the big stars go. This is my first day on the set, you know, on Laramie, or I hadn't even started working yet. And he said, join me in the green room. And I said, okay. So we go down there about 12 o'clock. We walk into the green room, and there's about 7 or 8 waitresses in the green room, and every one of them came up to say hi to him, and he knew every one of their names. That's the kind of man he was. He was a gentleman, and he was, you know, just super. And we sit down at the table, he and I, and he says, now look, kid. He said, this is your first series, right? And I said, yes, sir. And he said, I'm gonna give you a tip. He said, I've been in business a long time. And I said, yes, sir, I know. He said, save your money. Don't go out and buy a car the first day of your check. You know, save that money, take your time with it. And you'll see this is an important thing in this business. And I said, okay, yes, sir. Yes, sir. First week on Laramie, I get my first check for $650, and I go out and buy a brand new T-Bird. And drive it on the set, and Dan says, I told you. So I couldn't help it, Dan, I had to have it. But, you know, my first brand new car, what's a guy gonna do? Anyway, he was one of the best gentlemen. Well, he did several shows. I did movies with him. Dan was a dear friend and a great, great guy and a super gentleman.
Anybody else?
I have one.
I just want to know, I'm a horse lady. How long did you own Hoot? And how long did you travel?
I got Hoot when I was doing a lawman. The first time I rode Hoot on a lawman called A Friend with Peter Brown. And I rode that horse on it, and the wrangler that gave it to me, I said, I like this horse. And I'd already been signed to do Laramie. And I said, I want this horse. I want to buy this horse, you know, from Fat Jones, who ran the stable. And he said, well, you know, it's a stable I work for, and I don't know what to do. And I said, I don't care, I want that horse. That's the horse I want to ride on Laramie. So we worked out a little bit, and he came back to me and said, yeah, you can buy that horse, you can have that horse. And he said, but they fired me. And he said, now I've got to go work at Universal. I said, you're on a show with me, my Fat Wrangler. You guys have heard me talk about Richie Brin, the Fat Wrangler.
What a great guy.
Oh, God, well, yeah, you knew it. My God, this is, well, he and I used to fish and hunt together and have the times of our lives. So anyway, yes, I had that horse, and I worked with him. I had him all through Laramie. I didn't ride him on Wagon Train because I bought another horse called Gambler, and I had him for a while. But I still owned Hoot, and Richie always kept Hoot, and we would use Hoot as an ND horse. And ND is nondescript. And I got paid for that horse on the set. He would be just at a hitching reel or something like that, and because we wanted to keep him working. And then I retired him. I jerked his shoes and floated his teeth and put him out on 800 acres of great grass. Yeah, it was a fabulous horse. You guys have seen pictures of him.
Oh, I got him.
Yeah.
Dennis.
Well, I want to know who here hasn't heard the tattoo story. Has everybody heard the tattoo story? Who hasn't? Okay, nobody's heard the tattoo story. I want to hear it.
Are you serious? You guys really haven't heard this? With Dennis? Well, Dennis was on the show. How old were you? 10, 11, 10?
I was almost 12.
Yeah, 11 years old. What a, you know. And Janie, his mother, was a dear friend of mine, and his dad, and they actually let Dennis let me and Chuck Barney keep control of him at our house in the valley every now and then and mess around, have fun, shoot guns and do stuff like that.
Yep.
So he's with us one time, and this is when Laramie was the #1 television show in Japan. And we used to go to these Japanese restaurants downtown Los Angeles. So he's staying at the house this weekend. Chuck is in Tobago doubling somebody in a big movie. His girlfriend is there, and myself. It was just the four of us, right? And anyway, we're going to go to this Japanese restaurant. And as we pulled up in front of the restaurant, there's a tattoo parlor. I've never had a tattoo. I always wanted a tattoo. But anyway, so we went in to have this dinner. And there happened to be some sake with the dinner. And he didn't have any sake, but did you? No. I wouldn't do that. Anyway, I had some sake or whatever, and we go out, and as we get out, there's a tattoo bar. I said, I want a tattoo. Let's go. Oh, Jack Corfer was with me, my stand-in. So we all walked in, the four of us into this tattoo parlor, and we look on the wall, and I see a picture of a cherry. And I said, I want that on my leg right here. I want a tattoo like that. I sit in a chair, and the guy gives me a tattoo on my ankle, on my calf. Cherry. Dennis says, I want one too. And I said, get in a chair. I swear to you guys, if I'd have sent him home with a tattoo, Janie would have absolutely killed me. Anyway, he gets in a chair, and the guy is about to put a cherry tattoo on his leg, and Barbara, who was there, says, "You can't do that. Get that kid." Remember, she jerked you out of that chair right there? For the grace of God, she did. I'm telling you, I wouldn't be here today. If I'd have sent you home with a tattoo at 11 years old. Anyway, that's the tattoo story.
So can you show us the tattoo?
The what?
Can you show us the tattoo?
Can I show you the tattoo?
Well, wait. Does it look anything like this? Does it look anything like this tattoo? Yeah?
No, it looks more like this tattoo.
I finally got my tattoo, Bob. That's the real thing, dude.
No, it's a joke.
Oh, no, that's the real thing. That's the real thing, too.
Swear to God, that's real?
You betcha. I did it, man. Come on. I got the tattoo.
No, you're kidding.
No, I am not joking. That's a real thing, man. Love you, buddy.
Mom, I'll show mine. Well, yours is a lot newer than mine.
Yeah. But don't worry, it'll get old. So let's get a picture. Come on, please. Yeah?
What are you doing? What are you doing?
Oh, it's worse. It gets worse. No, wait a minute. I've got bob socks on as well.
That's not real.
That's real.
You didn't do that.
That's a real tattoo. No, yeah.
Yeah, they're real.
You crazy?
Guaranteed they're real, man. Yeah, come on, let's try to get a picture of all
Bob.
three tattoos together.
Bob, we figured it was not fair just Tony to have a pair of these, so here you go. These are Bob and Tony socks. So you and Tony all over the socks.
Those are some ugly socks.
And when you pull them up, your face stretches.
Stretches all out.
Can we get a picture? Can somebody get a good picture of these? Well, stand. You guys can get close now.
Got to rotate over here so we can see it on this side.
I don't know if my leg turns that way.
I'll make it turn that way.
Sally.
All right.
Okay, so Laramie. Yeah, Laramie. I just got it. Since the last time I saw him.
Talk about being set up.
Remember, we were out to dinner last time and I made you show me your tattoo so I knew exactly where it was so I could go get one right in the exact same place.
Mine's so old it's faded.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go back and get it fixed up a little bit if I'll match you guys. Oh, man.
Well, now you know we love you, buddy.
I love you guys. You know that. My God. You bum. You're going to pay for this, you know. You're going to pay for it. You too.
I did. Cost me $40.
$40? God, I wish Janie was still here. She would love it. She absolutely would love it. His mom was just the greatest gal in the world.
Miss her every day.
Oh boy, I do too. Tom.
Now, has anybody got a sensible question?
No, I'm afraid it's not. Is there a story you can tell us about getting a horse drunk?
Getting a horse drunk? Peter Brown's horse. Oh yeah, I got him drunk. And I got Peter to ride him and got bucked off too. Oh, we had a huge party at Bob Colbert and Peter Brown had a really nice house in Toluca Lake, California. And they had stalls and they had horses, and Peter had his horse there that he used to ride on Lawman. But this was a huge party. Clint Eastwood was there, every actor in Hollywood. It was a 3-day party. I mean, 24/7. And I drank a little bit in those days. And I remember I went in and I said, you know, sometimes they have a big bowl with matchbooks in them and that type of stuff, you know, on the thing. Well, I took all the matchbooks out and I went in the kitchen and I made a little bit of scotch, a little bit of bourbon, a little bit of gin, a little bit of vodka, some ice, and put it all in this bowl, about that big. That was my drink for the afternoon. But I walked out the back door to the stall where the horses were, and his horse, and I was drinking out of the bowl right there, and the horse is going like this, and I said, "You want a drink?" And the horse was like, he drank half that thing in a New York second. and then Peter, of course, Peter Brown can ride a horse, you know, I can ride it around in my corral right there, back there, which is concrete. So I said, well, let's see, get on your horse. Well, he got on the horse and the horse bucked him off right onto the concrete road right there. He's been mad at me forever for that, but yeah, I did. I got Peter Brown's horse drunk. What's a guy gonna do?
You haven't told
Jan, what, Jan?
You haven't told us your George Orison story for a long time. Would you be willing to do that?
Yeah.
Which one?
Open the gate.
Open the gate.
Open the gate, George Orison.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, that's one of my favorite stories. That's not a quickly. Second season of Laramie. We had a terrible wreck, stagecoach wreck, and John Smith's stand-in happened to be on the coach, and it was a bad wreck. He lost his leg. It was a terrible thing that happened that day. And a short time later, John needed another stand-in. And there was a bar called the Keys right across the street from Universal that we used to go to all the time. Smitty and I were there having lunch one day, and this guy, this good-looking guy about John's size, 6'3", Western hat on, boots, comes in and he says, now I'm not going to belabor the dialogue. He stuttered, I mean really badly, and he said, "You guys, John and Larry, you work, you know." He said, "Yeah." He said, "Shall I have a drink?" You know, and I said, "Yeah, sit down, partner." So he sits with us. Now I'm not going to do the stuttering for the whole story, okay? And he says, "I want to be in the picture business." Smitty and I, we liked him. He was a nice guy, very personable. He's from Bakersfield, California. Just got out of jail. And a good-looking, tough guy, you could tell, you know. And John needed a stand-in and double, and this guy would have been perfect. So we took him back to the studio with us and took him to the production manager and said, "This is the guy. John wants him to be his stand-in." And George Orison still talked like that. But so he gets the job. He is now John Smith's stand-in and does some double stuff because he's a horseman and he's a really wild guy. My fat wrangler friend Richie and George become friends, and the three of us go out. We do a lot of fishing and hunting all over the country together. And we have a scene one day. Les Sealander is directing, the old Les, you know, the war horse, you know, who had directed Tom Mix and all these people. And there's one line in the show where there's a fire starting in a barn and the horses are going to have to come out, and one person says, "Open the gate." One line. And I thought, now, as a stand-in and a stuntman, George was probably making 25, 40 bucks a day or something like that. But if he could say that line, he'd be paid 200 bucks. And I thought, why couldn't George say, open the gate? You know, so I went to Les Sealander and I said, why can't we give George that line, open the gate? And he said, are you kidding? It's only an hour show. And I said, I know I can get him to say, open the gate. And he said, all right, it's on your shoulders. So he's got the part, but it's not going to be shot for 2 days. So for 2 days, we're on the set, and George has got the one-page script in his back pocket, and he's walking around the studio going, open the gate. Open the gate. And I said, no, open the gate. Come on. George, you can say open the gate. Well, I'm on the seats. I'm on a set one day and there's a big screen, and behind it I hear, open the gate. And I look behind and there's George back there. He's got the thing, and I look at him and he says, I'm invading into the veins. I said, I'm going to kill you if you can't say open the gate. You're going to shoot this scene tomorrow. So here it comes the next day, and everybody's very worried that George is not going to say open the gate. And I know he's going to say open the gate. So here comes the scene. The fire starts, which is really bad because that's difficult now. You know. George runs out and says, open the gate! And never stuttered again. After that. Never stuttered again. And if you all watch, you know, if you watch the show, you know who George is. You've seen him enough times. But he, and he went with me on the Wagon Train and worked with me for 3 years on Wagon Train. And when that ended, Clint Eastwood took him over as his stand-in and stuntman, and he worked for the last 10, 12 years of his life with Clint. And Clint took him and his wife all over the world, and he was with him. He had a great career. Some little guy that met us in a bar and said, I want to be on Laramie.
Now, for this one, we did something a little bit different. I offered people a chance who were too shy to ask a question to send me the question. And I got a question from a lady called Rosemary Steiner. Is Rosemary in the room? Where? Rosemary, I know. Would you like to come up, Rosemary? Now, do you...
Hi, Mr. Foster. Hi. Oh, stop. Oh, my God.
Do you remember what the question was?
I do.
Well, there you go.
The question is, do you remember exactly what was in that first 30-minute script that you read where you said it was the perfect script and Jess Harper was the perfect part and it was what you had been looking for?
Well, it was a Laramie show, you know, Slim and Jess, except it was a half-hour show. That's all. Instead, you know, that's what their plan was. NBC was going to do it. Just the whole 1 hour show that you saw condensed into 30 minutes. And that's the way it was. And I fell in love with it when I read it.
Right.
You know, I just said, oh my God, Jess Harper. This is my part. I've waited all my life to play this character. And then when I walked into Patrick Kelly, and I said, this is it. This is the dream of my life. This is the best part I've ever seen in my life. And he said, no, we don't want you for that part. We want you for Slim. And I said, no, I can't do that part. And he said, do you understand what I'm offering you? This is my first deal in my life. You know, I'm a young actor. And I said, I can't do it. Jess is the only part I could possibly play. And he said, well, it's already been. John Smith was under contract to Universal at that time and had signed to play Jess Harper. So anyway, he said, out of here, you're through. And I left, but I got home that evening, and when my agent called me and said, they want you to come in tomorrow and test for the part of Jess. and I did, and I got Jess!
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carl.
Rosemary.
My pleasure.
So, before you go, that's for being a good sport.
That's for you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks. You are a guy. Thanks.
Any more questions, please? Oh, you got to run.
Hello.
Hello.
You know I'm going to ask something about the guns. When you and Chuck Courtney were working together, how many hours a day did you practice with your guns to get your fast draw and your stunts that you did?
Well, actually, it was Chuck that taught me the fast draw, because you know, he'd been on the Lone Ranger series for years. And when you say how many days do you practice, once you learn it, you don't have to practice it every day anymore. You know, my God, I drew the gun so many times on Laramie and other shows that I did. But once you get proficient with it, it's there. But like today, of course, I haven't drawn that gun, and I couldn't do it today because it's been that many years, of course, that I've done it. But once you have it, you have it. And there were only 3 guys in the business, in my estimation, that were the fast guns. It was Chuck Courtney, Ben Cooper. I don't know if you all remember Ben Cooper. Ben Cooper could really draw a gun fast. And I'm going to say myself, just to say it, not to brag about it, I could get it up pretty good. And and then all of a sudden Peter Brown comes along and writes a book, says I'm the hottest, fastest drawer in Hollywood. And I would always say to him, you're the 3rd, 4th fastest drawer in Hollywood. But anyway, you know, you have to do it. You got to work with it. It's like.
Caleb.
I have.
Hold on 1 second. Bring in the mic.
I have 2 questions. I was hoping one might be a quick answer question. Of all the shows, specifically westerns that you guest starred on, you know, not Laramie or Wagon Train, but you guest starred on, which one was the best atmosphere that you enjoyed working on? And then I was going to ask you about your role in the 10 Commandments, because it's been
My role in
talked to
which
a lot
one?
of people that. I'll start with the first one. Westerns
Yeah.
that you guest starred in. Which one did you enjoy working on the most of the ones that you guest starred on?
You know, it's a great question, because way before I did Laramie, I probably did, I don't know, a dozen or 2 westerns that were on the air. Always playing the bad guy, you know, most of the time. One of my favorite parts was I did a show called Buckskin. I don't know if you all remember a series called Buckskin, but it was early in my career. It's a good story to tell that. And it's a cowboy riding down the road, and he sees a ribbon on the ground, and he gets off his horse and he picks the ribbon up and he puts it in his pocket. And he rides into this town and goes to a bar and orders a drink, pulls out the ribbon, and it seems that a little girl had been abducted or something had happened to a little girl, and they think it's this cowboy, and so all the guys grab him. I'm in a chair and they're pounding me, and I'm supposed to be the bad guy in the thing. And do you all remember a great actor named Myron Healy? Yeah. Well, Myron, it was the first time I ever met Myron Healy. Mike became a very, very dear friend and did a lot of Laramie with me. But I had never met Mike before. And this is 1950, 56, 57, something like that. So Mike Healy says, we're going to take you to lunch, kid, and we're going to go to Lash LaRue's restaurant in North Hollywood. And I'd never drank martinis before. and Mike could drink martinis pretty good. So he says, give this kid a martini. Well, I had one, and I had 2. And by the time I got back to the set, I was in pretty bad shape. I managed to get through the scene, but I'll never forgive Mike Healy for doing that to me. And he loved it. But yeah, and it was a great part, and I really enjoyed, doing a thing like that.
And I was going to ask you about your role in the Ten Commandments, because it's
My role in the Ten Commandments? Well,
I spent a lot of time trying
when
to find
Cecil B. DeMille came up to me and said, Robert, I worked, oh my God, I probably worked 2 months on the Ten Commandments, but I was an extra. I carried a spear, or I was a slave, or I was who knows what. You couldn't see me. I was working extra. I was making $15.10 a day as an extra, which is a lot of money, in those days. But to give you guys an idea, which is kind of fun, when you do these biblical pictures, I did 2 or 3 of them, and it was always in the winter. And all you have on is a loincloth, right, when you're playing these scenes. So in the morning, we go into wardrobe or makeup, and wardrobe, yeah, they give you a loincloth, and they give you a locker, and you could put your regular clothes in it, and then they give you a little pouch where you could put your money or your watch or something that would hide underneath it, and then you'd go outside, and the weather could be 40 degrees, 25 degrees, 8, who knows, and you would stand on a turnstile that would go in a circle like this, and a guy with a spray gun would spray you to look like a slave, dark makeup all over your body. You close your eyes and they just spray you as you turn around like this, you're freezing. But $15 a day. Anyway, that's the Ten Commandments, yeah. But I did get to be as close to you as C.B. DeMille.
Just one thing, a lot of your stories seem to include alcohol. I got to admit, I was nervous that you got alcohol into the Ten Commandments. But does alcohol feature in the Ten Commandments?
How does alcohol feature?
Does alcohol feature in the Ten Commandments?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
What are you bringing up?
Just the fact a lot of stories.
I say I missed alcohol in one show.
Jennifer.
Abby Singer was one of your favorite people, one of mine, because we both have worked with him, and he was one of the dearest men, but he was very nervous and very frantic, right?
Absolutely.
So would you like to tell us one of my favorite stories? Because
I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah, because I have a friend here who adores chickens.
All right. This you're going to love this. Abby Singer was my production manager on Laramie, and her production manager on St. Elsewhere years and years later. But Abby was a dear friend, but he was one of those very nervous production managers. Everything had to be perfect. So everything going here, what's happening here, what's going on here. That's the way he was. He's so famous that even today, the last shot of the day in any television show in the world is called the Abby Singer shot. Because that's how famous he was. And he was a character, he really was. And I loved him and he loved me. But we used to, we'd try to do a couple things to him every now and then. But anyway, this one day, if you all remember the opening of Laramie, the stagecoach comes down and there's chickens always running around. And I'm sure everybody wonders, why don't those chickens get run over every now and then as this far up stagecoach comes down the hill in front of the ranch, and one day they got a chicken. Now, this was Fat Jones' stables that had all the horses and had the chickens. So Richie Brim and I thought, we got a dead chicken here, let's call Abby. So I picked up the phone, called the production office, and I said, Abby, we got a big problem up here. And he says, what? What's going on? I said, one of Fat Jones' chickens just got run over by the stagecoach. And he said, yeah, so what are we talking about? And I said, what? It's one of Fat's chickens. And he says, yeah, so what, are we talking about $5, $10? And I said, Abby, it was a falling chicken. This is a trained chicken to fall. And he says, oh God, I'll be right up. 2 minutes later, here comes Abby in his car up in the back lot. And we're way to that thing. He's saying it's going to cost $1,000 for this falling chicken. We did that anyway. Well, and that's how we got through this business. You know, you all have been in a business where you got to have a laugh or two or do something for fun. We did it, yeah. Good story, yeah. We loved Abby. Oh, I should tell. I'm going to tell about the Bahamas. Jennifer and I just started going together. We haven't been going together very long. And I was doing Fishing Fever and some of those shows that Caruth Bird was doing, and we were going to do a big show in the Bahamas. So I asked Jennifer, I said, Jennifer, can you get off the set of St. Elsewhere and go to the Bahamas with me for a week while we film? And she said, absolutely not. She said, there's no way they would let me go. You know, this is a show that's been going on for years, and it's very strict, and you can't do this, you can't do that. And I don't know why it came up. I said, well, who's your production manager? And she said, it's Abby Singer. And I said, Abby Singer? I said, I know Abby. Tell Abby Singer that you're dating me. And she calls me back. She says, Abby says you can take off and go to the Bahamas. That's what a great guy he was, yeah.
Any more questions? Yes, hands up there.
I was just wondering if you and your wife Jennifer ever worked together.
Have we worked together? No, we've always thought about it, but it just never came up. No, I would love to. She's a fabulous actress, and I would love to have worked with her. I think she feels, it just never worked out. No, it never did. Yeah.
He's afraid I'll upstage him.
You're afraid she'll upstage you.
She always upstages me. Okay? It's the barn goddess.
Next.
You said that you worked with Caruth Bird?
Can you speak up?
With Caruth Bird?
Yes, ma'am.
He was a neighbor of my parents. His place in Van, Texas.
Van, Texas, of course, yeah.
Ordered my parents.
Yeah, oh, no kidding, sure. No, well, Caruth produced all of those shows that I did, Colorado River Adventure,
Fishing Fever.
Fishing Fever, yeah. No, yeah, he was quite a man, yeah. We've been to the ranch down there, yeah. Froze our behinds off in his place one time. He didn't know how to turn the air down.
Mr. Fuller, has there ever been another television show that you were a fan of that you wish that you had a starring role on?
John, the gentleman who just stood up to ask me that question is a very nice gentleman. He's the Secretary of State of the city of the state of Alabama. And it was a pleasure to be able to meet him today. And after meeting him and talk to him, you can understand why he is. Other shows that, you know what, I've turned down so many TV series, and actually the only one that ever went any place was the one with Ben Gazzara. What was that called?
Run for Your Life. Run for Your Life.
Run for Your Life. After I finished Laramie, they wanted me to do Run for Your Life. The studio was begging me to do it. And I didn't want to play a guy that was going to die in a year on a show. I wanted to do a Western. So when that ended, then Tommy Grise, who was going to produce the German show with
Rat Patrol.
Rat Patrol. You remember Rat Patrol? And Chris George got that part. The director, and I swear this is the truth, actually was on his hands and knees saying, you've got to do this show, you've got to play this part, and offered me more money than I've ever been offered for any television show I ever did in my life. but I had just won 4 Golden Ottos from Germany as the best actor, and I said, I'm not going to do a show where I'm killing Germans. Plus, I didn't want to do I so wanted to do a Western. And so I turned that down. But anyway, Chris got it, and Chris was a dear friend of mine.
Where are you, Laura? Cindy.
I think Laura. Cindy, is that you?
Cindy.
Hi, honey.
I understand about Jess. When you got up in the morning and went to work as Jess Harper, you really were Jess Harper as all day long. When you went home, you were Jess Harper. But were there any parts that you played or roles that you played that you got into and you couldn't get out of your head? So when you went home, you were still playing that part?
Wow. That's an incredible question, Cindy. It really is. As far as Laramie is concerned, yeah, I was Jess Harper, and I took Jess Harper home, and Jess Harper went to work every morning and came home at night. Robert Fuller, without a doubt. I am Jess Harper. I am Robert Fuller. But other shows that I did, of course not. As an actor, I have to see in my mind what the character is in the script and try to portray that part. I do. So no, I didn't. No, I take every character in every show that I ever did. Well, for instance, Wagon Train. I wasn't Jess Harper in Wagon Train. I changed everything, if you remember. The color of the hat, the color of the gloves, the color of the gun, everything. No, I didn't, but always stay Jess Harper.
All right, thank you.
I want to ask you about a movie that you almost made called Tigers in the Sky. Would you like to tell everybody about that movie and the little trick that you played that had nothing to do with alcohol?
Well, every now and then you make a picture where they run out of money and the picture ends. I got hired on to do a picture called Tigers in the Sky. This is back in the early 70s, I guess, and I was playing an Air Force pilot, jet pilot. And we did it. Actually, the great part about it was we shot on the Kitty Hawk and the Enterprise, 2 of these great aircraft carriers. One in Hawaii and then one in Los Angeles. And anyway, I remember one day after work, another actor and myself came off the ship, and in our outfits, our officers, I was a captain, had to walk, going back to the hotel, the Coronado Hotel, and salute the flag, go down the thing, and get in the car and go back to the hotel. Before I went to the room, the 2 of us went into the bar at the car. I went in for a Coke. So we're sitting there, and I've got this Air Force thing on with all the brass and whatever. And this is during the Vietnam War. It's going on. So all of a sudden, the guy comes up and he says, "Can I buy you guys a drink?" And the other actor and I looked at each other and said, "Sure." He says, "Thanks for your service, you guys. You're fabulous. Give these guys drinks." All night long, we got free drinks because we had these uniforms on. But, hey, why not?
And didn't a similar thing happen on Sinai Commandos?
Oh, Sinai Commandos, that was a real movie that I did in Israel. I shot that picture. I played an Israeli captain. I got to Israel 3 weeks after the 6-Day War in 1967 to play a captain, play a true story about the raid on Sharm el-Sheikh, where we blew up a radar station. And our first day on the set, I'm the captain. I've got a squad of 8 guys with me, and they're all Israelis. And I'm staying at the Queen of Sheba Hotel. And the end of the first day's work, we've got Uzis, we're in uniform, and this is a big resort hotel in the Gulf of Aqaba. And I said, come on guys, I want to take you all over the hotel, we'll sit around the pool and have a drink. And we're sitting there and relaxing a little bit, and all of a sudden the guy comes up to me and he says, I hear you're talking, you're an American. And I said, yeah. He said, what are you doing here in Israel fighting? I said, I'm a freedom fighter. I said, bring these guys drinks. We spent the whole afternoon there with free drinks for everybody.
Donna. There's a microphone coming for you.
What are you going to do to me, Donna?
I wouldn't do anything to you.
Yeah.
Two things. Either tell them about your lady co-star in Sinai Commandos, or tell them about the swimming pool at the Perry Lodge in Canal.
No, you've got two stories right there.
That's what
I'm not going to tell them both. I guarantee you, they're terrible stories.
Either or.
Perry Lodge.
Do the Perry Lodge.
So which one?
The Perry Lodge with the swimming pool.
Oh man, why would you do this to me?
Because I like this so much.
Well, I guess this is, now that I think of it, this is really a dumb Bob one. Smitty and I are doing Laramie, and we're in Kanab, Utah. And we're way out in the country shooting, and there's going to be a rainstorm coming in, and they said, we got to quit, there's going to be a flood. Get everybody back to the hotels, whatever. Well, that sounded great to us about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, because we went right to the bar, Smitty and I, and had 1 or 2 or 10. And later that day, that evening, things were getting kind of fun, and I thought, I'm just going to have some fun here. Now, there's an empty swimming pool. It's in the winter at Perry's Lodge. Pool's empty. And I thought, I'm gonna sleep in that pool tonight. So I took my mattress from my room, drug it out, and threw it down in the pool with my bottle of vodka, and was going to spend the night on my mattress in the pool, empty pool, which I did. And went to sleep, of course, and all of a sudden I wake up, and as I look up, things are going around like this. And I see it, I wondered, what is this? And as I look up, Richie Brim, my fat wrangler, has turned the water on in the pool, and the mattress is floating around like this. And the whole crew is standing around at 7 o'clock in the morning watching me down there. Cost me $1,700. Donna, I'm going to kill you. Who's? Dick, what are you waving over there about?
When you landed on your horse from the 2-story building or not?
I miss it. Where
Can we do that again? What was the question?
Did it hurt when you landed on your horse from the 2-story building or not?
Oh, did it hurt when you jumped on your horse from that building?
Did it hurt?
Dad, don't write it, did. Hurt me worse than a horse. 15 feet, but I always wanted to do that.
Down. Yeah, it's gone its way. Laura? This way. There.
No.
Ready to stand up?
No, darling, no.
Did I understand you right when you said that Hoop is still alive?
Say that again?
Did I understand you right when you said that Hoot is still alive?
Hoot is still alive? No.
No?
My horse?
Yeah.
It's been dead for 1,000 years.
I remember one series that you were in, and I've only seen it once, never seen it again, where Smitty was in trouble, and I was kind of up on top of a hill, and you went up to rescue him, and you said, "Smitty, get up." And I recognize that because I'm married to a Smitty. But I've never seen that scene again.
So what's the question?
No, it's no question, just a comment.
Well, there wasn't any question. I just
That was one of the Laramie shows.
Yeah, and you called him Smitty.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
All right. There's a question back there. Who you got? You. Okay. Okay.
Love you too, buddy.
Do you have a funny story from Return of the Seven and working with Yul Brynner?
Do you have a fun story from Return of the Seven and working with Yul Brynner?
Yeah, sure. Who said that? Who asked that question?
Stand up. Right there.
Okay. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of it. Maybe some of you haven't. It's a great story. He made a show called The Magnificent Seven, and his co-star was Steve McQueen. And it's common knowledge that he and Steve McQueen did not get along at all. It was in the papers, it was in the trade papers in Hollywood, and this and that and everything. They just had a terrible time working together. Anyway, 3-4 years later, I get hired to do the Return of the Magnificent Seven and do the Steve McQueen part, Vin, the exact same part that Steve did. Now, these are two different actors. They're both great actors. I always liked Steve's work, and I loved Yul's work. Yul is a straight-across actor like this. Steve was more of a method type actor that always had to do something, moving going all the time, and Yul did not like that. So they didn't get along. So now I get hired to play Vin, and we're going to shoot it in Alicante, Spain. And I had not met Yul. I was just going to go right over there and start to go to work the first day with Yul Brynner. And I thought to myself, and I've heard stories about Yul Brynner, that he was kind of a tough guy and he could be this or he could be that or whatever. So I'm a little worried, and I thought to myself, is he gonna carry this over on me because I'm playing the Steve McQueen part? And it bothered me a lot. It gave me a lot of trepidation about thinking about it. So anyway, the very first day on the set, I'm in makeup in Alicante. And the assistant director comes up and says, "Have you met Mr. Brynner yet?" And I said, no, I haven't. And he says, "Well, come on with me, I'll introduce you to him." So we got up and we started walking across this courtyard, and Yul's trailer was over there, about 50 yards away, with his makeup table was right there in the door, and Yul was sitting in his chair getting made up. Looking in the mirror, and I saw the guy making him up. Now we take this long walk all the way up, and Yul can see us coming in the mirror. He never turns around to look this way, but he sees us. We finally walk up to the trailer, and the assistant director knocks on the door, and he says, "Mr. Brynner, this is Robert Fuller, who's playing the part of Vin." And Yul Brynner does not turn around. He's looking at me in the mirror, looking directly in my eyes, but he's still looking in the mirror. And there's dead silence. I guarantee you at least a solid minute. And I'm thinking, uh-oh, this is not going to be good. And he says, "Do you drink?" And I went, "Do I drink? Don't I drink? Does he drink? Does he like people that drink?" I mean, it's going through my mind right there. And I thought, honesty's the best policy. Quickly, I said, "Yeah, I drink." Dead silence. At least, I promise you, 30 seconds, 40 seconds. And I'm thinking, uh-oh, this is not going good. And then he says, do you play poker? And I cracked a smile and I said, yeah, I play poker. And he turned around and grabbed me. He said, come on in, Pally! And pulled me into the trailer on my back right there. And 2 hours later, we walked out of that trailer killing a half a bottle of Johnny Walker Black between us. And I had the time of my life working with this man who was just incredible, and he was the king.
Hi.
Sally, what are you going to do to me?
I'm just going to ask you a question. Okay, when you would get a script for Laramie or Wagon Train, and you read through it, what would you read in there that would excite you about an episode or a scene that you would be excited about doing? Was it anything?
Mostly the fight scenes. I could, or to shoot the guys. Yeah, I love to fight and shoot. That's my life.
Nothing. What about emotional scenes, things like that?
Well, no, I always wondered who the woman guest star was. Kind of like that part too.
Thank you.
Who's the next victim? There's Laura. Laura, I've lost you. This young man here in the green.
I understand that you did a new Laramie every week. Did you have any problem memorizing the lines each week? And it seems to me that'd be a lot of work.
I'm very fortunate. I've never had any problems. I learned very early on your mind is much more fresh in the morning. If I come home from work at night after 10, 11 hours on a set and try to learn lines, it doesn't work very good. So I finally learned, I said, I would get up a half hour or an hour earlier in the morning when my mind is fresh, and I could learn 10 pages just like that when your mind is fresh. And that's been my life forever. And I have no problem learning lines.
Anyone else?
Hi, I guess I first got to know you through Emergency. And I'm wondering, because it's so different and there was so much action with Laramie and even with Wagon Train, and Emergency, not so much. Did you miss it? I mean, were you just happy to have a job? Or, really, I'm just, it's so different from Laramie now that I've watched all the Laramie stuff. And I realized it was a few years difference, but I was just wondering how you dealt with that, I guess, maybe.
Love that question. Lucky to have a job, you're dead gum right. That's what actors do, I couldn't believe it. But to get up every morning and go to work with Julie London, are you kidding? Yeah. That was the frosting on the cake. No, I loved working on Emergency, I really did. I had a lot of fun on it. I mean, Bobby and Julie were great, and the kids were great. It was a whole different world, after doing this, yeah. But I had a good time doing it, and it was a good job.
You've also done quite a number of advertisements and been spokesperson for various products. Can you run through some of those products and how important they were to you or in your working life?
Very important as far as a job. My God, I was a national spokesman for Teledyne Waterpick for 6 years. I think I made more money on that than I did on the series. Those things are great. Oh no, I had a chance to do a lot of television commercials. I was a spokesman for Budweiser malt liquor, for Friskies cat food, voiceover and stuff like that. Oh yeah. Well, I was just very fortunate, let me put it that way, to do that. Yeah.
Hans? I see somebody different. Let's go up the back there, lady in the orange. Okay. So on your way up the back, the lady in the orange.
Hurry up, Laura, hurry, run!
Hi, I'm Amy Roger from Wisconsin.
Hi, dear.
Hi.
I want to know, have you written a journal throughout your life or doing an autobiography?
I'm not gonna.
And do you have a favorite Western of your own that you like to watch? My husband watches his Westerns over and over and over.
Right.
There you go. So I thought maybe you had a favorite Western or Cowboy.
My favorite Westerns? Is that what you're asking?
Do you have a favorite Western?
Yeah, I have 3 favorite Westerns. I think the best Westerns ever made were Shane, that Alan Ladd did. Second one is Open Range, which I think is one of the best Westerns in the world. And I love Culpeper Cattle Company. You know, now I'm not going to discount Red River and all of the Wayne. You know, Wayne had great motion pictures or whatever. But pictures that I would watch over and over and over are the 3 that I mentioned. Absolutely. Open Range is probably one of the finest Westerns I ever watched, and Shane.
Who's next?
I was wondering if you'd share with us your favorite story involving a horse. And if it's not the story about the time that you were going over a stream and you got caught under the horse, then maybe you would like to share both stories?
What's your favorite story involving a horse?
Well, involving a horse, huh? My favorite story? My God. I'll tell you one. It's kind of interesting. You know how actors have stand-ins and doubles? Well, my horse Hoot had a double. His name was Hemet. And he didn't have a blaze, so we used to paint a blaze on him. And if I had to ride down a rocky mountain or across rivers and things that were kind of dangerous, I didn't want Hoot to do it. I would always ride Hemet. I was riding Hemet one day in a scene where there's a camera car running in front of me. The producer and everybody in the camera was in the car, and they're going 50 miles an hour this way, and I'm lapping and tapping, going right after them. And Hemet, for some reason, dropped to his knees during a full gallop. And if it hadn't been for Richie Brim, my fat wrangler, who taught me a lot about horses, he said, if that ever happened to you, he said, you know, you could be killed. The horse could roll, you could do this. He said, the thing you want to do is grab those reins and pull that horse up as hard as you can. And I watched the guys on the camera truck, their eyes got this big when Hemet went to his knees. And I remember grabbing those reins and pulling Hemet like this, and he just picked himself up and went on. Wow. And it saved me. And he was a great horse. Yeah. But I worked with so many horses and loved them throughout the years. You know, I've been very fortunate. Yeah.
Has anybody else? Somebody who hasn't. Katie.
Oh. Katie. Hi, darling.
Stand up. We can't see
She
you.
is standing. This is one of my dear friends.
I just wanted to ask if you have any favorite memories working with Mike Dennis on Laramie.
With the squirt here?
Yeah.
I've got lots of memories with him. We had a lot of fun together. I'll tell you what, you heard me, he used to stay over at my house every now and then. This guy, 11 years old, came in one day and just threw an egg at me and broke it. And you were a rascal, you really were. But I got a better story about his mother. I had a late call, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock or something like that on the set. And they had a scene in a funeral parlor before I got there that I was not involved in, and they had caskets, 4 or 5 or 6 caskets. Now this is a huge soundstage, so that's a scene shot over there, and there's stuff over there and over there. And I walked in, and now it's a dark set over here with all of these caskets. And I thought, wow, this is kind of wild. So I had my stand-in with me, Rick Arnold. And I said, Rick, get in one of these caskets. So I'm going to do something on Janie, his mother. So Rick says, okay. So Rick opens the casket and gets in the casket. And I go to Janie. And I said, Janie, I said, this is terrible. You know, you've got your son on this show, and we're doing a terrible thing with the caskets and stuff like this. Come over here and look at this. And we're standing right by a casket, and Rick opens the casket and gets up, and Janie pees in her pants. Right there. Couldn't move.
My poor sweet.
Yeah, I know. Now I'm going to go beyond that. The director is Joe Kane, who is, everybody remember, you know, most of you all that watch those old movies, you know Joe Kane. He directed Tom Mix and all these people in the silent films too. He's a big old tough guy, smoked a cigar, wore a fedora. And if things got going wrong in the show, he'd throw the fedora on the ground, he'd jump up and down on it. Like, it's just like the old days. And I have to go up and say, Uncle Joe, settle down, partner, we're going to get this shot. So he was directing that show, and I thought, let's get Joe. So Rick gets back in the casket, and I get Joe Kane. And I bring Joe, and I say, Joe, this is terrible. I mean, my God, this is Laramie. Kids watch this. What are we doing? And Rick opens up the casket and jumps up, and Joe goes. He tries to run that way, but he can't run. I mean, it was beautiful. It's like a silent movie. You know? I thought, oh my God, I've given a man a heart attack. Anyway, but we had good times. Tiger.
Any more shows of hands? Any more questions?
Come up here a second. We talked about the other night when I called you Tiger for the first time.
Yeah.
Listen, go tell it, because it wasn't in the script.
No, we were just...
First of all, he never missed a line. He came to work, knew every line perfectly, and was always on time and whatever.
And that was because of my dear sweet mom that he would just did that to. So yeah, anyway, we were, it was one of the first times we were doing sort of an intimate scene. And as he says, you know, you always know your lines, so, and you have to know the other person's lines so that you know when your line's coming up. And we're in the middle of the scene, and instead of Mike, he calls me Tiger. And it was immediately appropriate to everyone. Nobody, I thought it was okay, he thought it was okay, the director thought it was okay. Nobody said a word, and from then on he called me Tiger on the show quite often. And it was just this spontaneous.
But his eyes went like this.
Yeah.
That's not the line. That's not your line.
That's right.
But you did good. Yeah.
Any more questions? Okay, well, oh, Sharon, okay.
Nobody else has got one. Okay, first of all, I do have a question for you, Bob, but I wanted to thank Jennifer for sharing you with us all this time. My question
I have
to you
some
is,
laundry, by the way.
on the show the Confederate Express, there's a scene where you guys are riding into town, and then you get ambushed, and then you go behind a rock, and you in the rock you can see the ping in the rock, and then you grab your face where you get struck on the face.
Yeah, go on.
Well, I was just wondering, one question: how do they do those effects, and did that really catch you on the cheek? That ricochet?
We did 128 of those shows. And I'm really not sure which episode and which scene you're talking about in all of those. Something happened on a rock where I got cut, or?
Well, yeah, in the show it did. It kind of ricocheted off of the rock you were hiding behind.
Oh, a ricochet hit me.
Yeah.
Well, I had the best special effects man in the business, Frank Brindell, who did all this. So I trusted this man to be able to blow explosives this close to me without hurting me and doing stuff. Yeah, he was great. In fact, he went on to win the Academy Award for Earthquake. My special effects man on Laramie. Yeah, won the Academy Award.
Okay, well, it looks like
Next questions.
We go.
I think following up on Sharon's, if you could explain the squibs, and was anybody ever surprised or hurt by a squib?
A squib.
Right.
How do you know that term?
I think you've talked about it before. And general knowledge, research. I do research.
Good for you. Yeah, that's it. Most of the people here probably don't know the word squib. A squib is a little tiny dynamite cap that is so minuscule you can't even see it, that they use to blow up a gunshot thing, and it's done by a wire and electricity, and covered over by whatever the color of the rock or the room or the house is, and when they shoot it, it goes like this and blows up, and it's a squib. No, I don't know. I'm sure throughout the history of the motion picture and television business, somebody has been hurt by that, but I never saw it on any Western that I've ever done. Most of your special effects guys are pretty sharp about it and know how to handle it. Yeah, that's why I was talking about Frank. I would let him set them off right here, because he and I coordinated when I was going to move or this or that, and I turned this way and he could blow it. I know it's not going to hit my eye, but it's going to look good. Yeah, and that's how cool he was. Yeah.
Were you ever offered a Italian Western? And if you hadn't,
no.
If you had been offered, would you have taken it? Was there any reason why you wouldn't have done it?
No, not at all. I was doing movies and television when all that was going on. If somebody offered me one and I wasn't working, I'd have gone over there and done one. Sure, yeah. No, I'm nothing against a spaghetti Western.
How many countries have you actually worked in?
I've made films in 17 countries.
Wow.
For a kid that never got out of the 9th grade, that's not too shabby. No, I've had an exceptional career, really. I've been very, very fortunate. And I owe it all to upstairs anyway,
Uh-oh.
Not again.
Well, I'm sure that most of the people here know that you have no sense of direction, which is why Wagon Train lasted as long as it did. Because you were the scout, and that Wagon Train just went around in a circle. Every show you'd say, wait a minute, I already saw that valley last week and that tree, okay. But why don't you tell your story about going hunting with Richie Brim and...
I knew you were going to do this to me. You brought the bus. You know I could get lost in an empty swimming pool. I know the story you're talking about. Everybody's heard it.
The odds are stacked.
God, where do we get home? All right, I'm just a kid from Florida, the only hunting I did was for alligators and rattlesnakes. And came to Hollywood and then finally got Laramie, and I get involved with Richie Brim and George Orison, who are country boys, own shotguns, and they know how to bird shoot and this and that, whatever. And Richie, in the first season, then George comes up to me and says, you want to go pheasant hunting? I said, yeah, sure, I'll go with you guys. He said, what's the deal? And he said, well, there's a co-op up in Bakersfield, California. I said, what's a co-op? And he said, well, we got to fill out some papers, and if our names get drawn, we can be up in Bakersfield at 4 o'clock in the morning and be in a big field where they're going to bring a truck up and they're going to drop out 500 pheasant in the dark. And these pheasant are going to go over 800 acres. And as soon as the sun comes up, hunters can go and see if they can get a pheasant. Pheasant, okay, so I don't have a shotgun. So I go to a sporting goods store and I rent a 16 gauge shotgun. I see this nice brown vest, it's a hunting vest, got a pouch in it where you can put the bird once you get him. And I buy that, and we all get the draw. So that weekend, we're up in Bakersfield, 4 o'clock in the morning, we're standing there, the sun's just, it's almost, and they open we can't see anything really, and they open this truck and all of these birds, I haven't seen the birds, I don't know what a pheasant looks like at this point, I really don't. And all these birds go, and they're gone. I said, what am I looking for when we go out there? He said, it's a big red bird with a tail. You can't miss it, it's a pheasant. Big red bird with a tail. If one jumps up, shoot it. Okay. So we go out that morning, and now the sun has come up, and there's not 100, it's 800 acres. So they're all spread out. There's only about 50, 60 hunters. And we're going along, nothing's happening, whatever. And Richie and George say, okay, we're going to go over that hill right there. You walk down this brush row right here, this fence row. And he said, just keep kicking that fence row, and if there's a pheasant in there, it'll flush out. And when it goes out, you shoot it. I said, I got you. So got my 16 gauge and my new jacket. And they're on the other side of the hill, and I'm walking along, I'm kicking away, nothing's happening. All of a sudden, this bird jumps up and flies out, and I shoot him. Bam! He hits the ground, jumps up and flies again, boom, I shoot him again. I got him. I go over and pick this sucker up. He's red, he's got a tail like this, and he's got a little blood on it. So I put some blood on my... stick him back in my vest. I probably got the first pheasant of the day. All of a sudden, here they come. They said, we heard shooting. Did you get him? I said, I got one. I reach back and pull him out like this. His tongue is hanging down to about there. A big red tail. And the two of them look at them, and they look at each other, and they fall on the ground. They look at each other, and they fall on the ground. I said, what's wrong? They said, if you'll throw that thing away, we'll never tell what you just did. And I said, what did I do? And he said, you shot a woodpecker. And it was a woodpecker. So, forever back on the set on Laramie, I got called Woody. What?
That wasn't the story.
The what?
The dump.
Oh. You keep talking about stories where I drink. No, that's enough of that one. Pocatello dump. All right, now, here we go. We're going to go hunting again. This is probably in the 4th year of Laramie. George and myself and our makeup man, Hank Eds, we're going to go to Melrose, Montana, deer and elk hunting. And now I've been hunting, I've shot deer before now. This is 4 years later. And I get the Dodge company to give us a big Dodge to take us all up there, and we go to this ranch up there. And before we leave Los Angeles, I think that night, I guess I had something to drink, and they said, you can't drive. You just get in the back and go to sleep. We'll drive, and we're going to go through Idaho, and we're going to go through, we'll get up to, to Montana. So we get about halfway there. We're in Idaho, and this is hours later, they wake me up and they say, okay, we're tired, you're okay, it's your turn to drive. And I said, well, where am I going? I don't even know where we're going. He said, well, all you got to do is stay on this highway. If you just stay on this highway, 321, whatever it is, don't get off of it, you'll head us toward Melrose, Montana. Just keep driving. I said, okay, I can do that. And I'm in good shape now. So I'm driving and driving. It's 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, driving away. These guys are in the back, sound asleep. And all of a sudden the roads sort of do a couple things, and I go this way, I go whatever, and I think I'm following this road. That's what they said. And I'm going, and all of a sudden it's not concrete anymore, it's gravel. And I'm still going. I thought, well, I guess it just turns into something, and I'm going, and all of a sudden it's getting darker and darker, and there's nothing around me. I can't see anything. And we keep going, and I pull up to a thing, and all of a sudden the headlights hit a big sign that says Pocatello Dump. Pocatello, Idaho Dump. And now I gotta wake these guys up and tell them what I've done. They were not very happy with me. I never had to drive again. Believe me. Coming back home? No.
Just before we take any more questions, Donna Wilmoth very kindly donated a couple of DVDs to give away here, and I did a sort of quick draw thing on it, and Janet Sempier, this is for you. Come on down.
This lady is
Take your time.
This lady is one of my dear friends in the fandom for years. I've worked very hard.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Love you too, babe.
Janet's one of our volunteers too. So
yeah, absolutely.
Does anyone else have any questions that you'd like to ask? Now's your chance. We don't have much time left. There's one right here.
I saw a picture of you in a German newspaper. You're holding 2 black cats, one in each arm. And the article says they're called Eins und Zwei. And the German article says you didn't know what else to call them, so you called them 1 and 2. Is that true?
Absolutely, Eins Zwei, 1, 2. Yeah. Where'd you see that magazine?
On the Facebook, on the Fandom.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure.
Oh, bit of exercise there.
Hi, Robert.
Hi, Donna.
We know how much you love Joel McCrea, but tell us how much fun did you have working with Joel McCrea?
With Joel McCrea? Oh my God, you know. I'm sure everybody here has an idol, one time or another. Well, Joel McCrea has always been mine. I've watched Joel McCrea since I was a little kid. I've never seen a better horseman. I've never seen a better actor, a better looking guy. I've married to Frances D. all my life. And years later, you know, even after Emergency, I find out that, well, he's retired at this point. He hasn't worked in 5 years, and he's not going to work in the picture business anymore. But he has a ranch in California. And my producer, John Champion, who produced Laramie, writes a script and says, it's only 4 people, was it Joe, myself, and Patrick Wayne and myself, 4 people. Yeah, in the thing, Mustang Country. And he said, I want you and Patrick Wayne to be in it, and I'm going to get Joel out of retirement. Will you help? Well, we got a hold of Joel and actually got him out of retirement to shoot this picture in Banff, Canada, which we were up there for, I don't know, a month or so. And to be in the presence of this man, and he brought Frances with him, his wife, Frances D. And we would go out to dinner every night at a restaurant called the Grizzly. And they sat across, Patrick and I would sit here, and he and Frances would sit there, And they've been married for probably 60 years, 50 years, and they held hands all through dinner. And I just thought, my God, this is the most incredible thing I've ever seen. You know, that's the kind of guy he was. Anyway, I had a fabulous time being able to be in the presence of that man.
That's how we feel about you.
Anybody else? Oh, Robin.
Hey, Robin. What'd you call me?
Robert,
Yeah, that's more like it.
how did you and Jennifer meet?
How did we meet?
Yes.
Well, I walked into a bar one night, and she was a pole dancer. And I said, whoa, I kind of like that gal up there, and that pole, well, and that's how I met. You want the real story? All right. Jennifer's a tennis player. We both celebrity. We played a lot of celebrity tennis. And Michael Landon used to have a tennis tournament. I guess it's in Arizona someplace. And this particular, and I was single. I'd been divorced for years, and had a couple of buddies of mine, and I got invited to the tennis tournament. And David Mirish was the man who ran the tournament. And the night before the tournament was going to be a Western night, and they were going to have a big party at a Western bar, which was great because this is the way I was dressed anyway. You know, this is all I wore. And so anyway, we wound up at this Western bar with Western music going on and everything, and I'm in there, and I've got two friends of mine, and I've got what's his name? Richard Anderson. You all know who Richard Anderson was with us. We're sitting at a table, and all of a sudden I look and I see the back of this girl with long blonde hair down to here, and looked pretty darn good in a pair of jeans and boots and whatever. And I walked up to David Mirish, and I said, "Who's that blonde?" And he says, "That's Jennifer Savage." He said, "Don't you know who she is?" And I said, "No." He says, she does St. Elsewhere. She's been on St. Elsewhere. I never watched St. Elsewhere. So I didn't know who she was. I didn't watch medical shows. I only watch westerns.
Yeah.
But, no, that's not. But anyway, and I said, "Wow." I said, "She's pretty good looking." And he said, "She's not with anybody. She's not involved." And I said, "Well, maybe I'll ask her to dance later because I know the band was going to play." So I go back to the table and we're drinking tequila. And see, of course,
Every time.
I know.
Every time.
So Richard and I are sitting there. We're having shots of tequila, and the band starts playing the Western music up on the stage. And all of a sudden, I get a tap on the shoulder, and I turn around, and it's Jennifer, and she says, "Hey, Cowboy, can you do the two-step?" And I looked up and I said, "No, ma'am, but I can do the Okie Stomp." And I don't know if you all know what the Okie Stomp is. It's just an old cowboy dance. And we got up and danced, and we're dancing to this music, and she's got a big buckle like I have right here, and they get hooked. I swear to God, true story. This one hooks over, and we can't unhook ourselves on the dance floor. And I said, "This could be the start of something good." And look at here. Of course, after today, it might end. No, that's how we met, really. She wasn't a pole dancer.
We're kind of running out of time, so we'll take one more. Are you going to let me close this down?
You can close it.
Okay,
You're the
one
boss.
more. One more, please.
Robert.
Yep.
Follow-up question on...
Where are you? Who?
Stan.
Yes, sir.
Did you ever get out to Joe McRae Ranch?
No, I never did. No, I didn't. I wished I could have, but no, I didn't. Yeah.
Okay, guys. Well, we're going to have to scoot. Thank you so much for coming into the club.
Yeah, you all. This has been the best Q&A fandom ever. Thank you guys for everything. Really.
Have a great evening. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you all.